In today's video, we'll take a look at how to create custom CSS classes and then use them in your Joomla template and in your Joomla modules. Hey there, Joomla fans. Tim Davis here. I'm a Joomla fan too, and thanks for tuning in to Watch Me Work live stream number 34 here on the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. We have a fun topic today. Fun for me because I finally figured it out. And I want to give a shout out to my friend and our channel friend, Vinny from webhelp.us. We sorted this out together a couple of weeks ago, and so I am excited to show you some cool things, and I think I'm going to show you in a cool way as well. So once you start to get the gist of it, stick around and you'll see maybe a few pro things. Not that I'm a pro. A few pro things that will help you along. So let's turn our attention over to the screen here. If you're watching live, say hi in chat. Give the video a like so others can find it. That would be great. Just a reminder, as I always do, head on over to basicjoomla.com/giveaways and enter this month's giveaway for some cool Joomla prizes, which you can see on there. And mentioning Vinny and webhelp.us, he's got the iloveoldtimeradio.com show website. Great stuff to listen to while you're working on your Joomla site. Hello, Vinny. Vinny's there in chat. All right, so creating CSS classes and then using them in our templates. First of all, let's look. I installed a Joomla site, very core, and I have installed a template from Asteroid. As you guys know, I'm crushing on Asteroid framework these days. What you'll see today, you can apply to, I think, pretty much any Joomla template, and we'll talk about that along the way. So I'm just going to demonstrate it here using an Asteroid template. All right, so in the back end here, so let me just show you what we've got set up. Here we are. We'll go to templates. We will go inside of the template. And I want to show you, if you watch the live stream on the Joomla template autopsy, you'll see how I showed how Joomla templates work by taking one apart and bringing it right down to its base amount. And here we have right here in this template, when we look at the layout, I've removed everything. Hello, Valerie. Good to see you here again. I have removed everything, every section from this template except for this one section. And in this section, there is an element, which is a module position. And when we look at that element, we will see that the module position is position 1. All right, so we have basically a template with one module position, and it is named module position 1. And I've given it the element title A. That's just what shows up here, so we know this is A, because we'll be adding some things in a little while. Now, in modules, this website, this install, I've deleted all modules. I only have the this one custom module, and when we go in, we see that I have put, this is heading 1, this is heading 2, this is heading 3, yada, 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 as we go along there. This is a paragraph, and this is a link. So this is a custom HTML module, and my phone is chiming away there. This is a custom HTML module, and I have, as you can see, assigned it to position 1. I'm going to close that. So the end result is when we go to the Joomla page, here is the blank template with one module position with the one module assigned to it. This is the only module on the site. This is heading 1, this is heading 2, blah, 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 as we saw. So what we want to do, what we're going to do now is to create some custom CSS classes that we can apply in different ways to this template and override just what is the default for the whole body of the template. And to do that, what we want to do is to take CSS code, and I'll show you how to discover it here, and then we're going to put it in the area where you place custom CSS code for the template. Now in Asteroid, there's a spot right inside the interface. I think Helix is the same. Rocket Theme, you have a Rocket Theme gantry template. You have to put that code in a different file that you access through a file manager or something. And I forget exactly to say off the top of my head how you do it with the default protostar. So as part of this process is you'll have to figure out what particular template system you're using or template you have and how to add custom CSS. So you might need to do a little bit of Googling on that. I do have a tutorial on how to do it on Gantry, and if you Google customize CSS in Gantry, there's a good chance that video will come up. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to use Element Inspector. So by hitting F12 here in Google Chrome, it brings up this tool here, and I am in the way, so I'm going to disappear for the next while. Lucky day for everybody. I just have to get there and turn off the webcam. All right. Down in the right-hand side, you will be shown the CSS for elements, things that you look at on this page here, in your HTML page. Now, to do that, I just need to bring chat back up there. Hello, Rick. I'm doing well. How are you today? So to do that, what we do is we click this inspector. It says select an element in the page to inspect it. So we left-click, turn on this little sort of focusing here, and as we now move around, as we now move around, we can see the CSS that affects different things when we click. So, for instance, let's click on. This is heading 3. I left-click on there. Excuse me. And now down in the bottom right-hand side, we see there's the code for H3. What its font family is, what its font size is, what its font weight is, line height, and text transform. Okay, so, and there might be color and other things like that applied in that spot. Now, you'll notice in these checkboxes here, you can always see if you found the right place that's active by unchecking them, and you'll see what changes happen up here. So this is for heading 3, so we want to watch up here where it says heading 3. If I turn off the font weight, nothing changes. If I turn off the font size, it goes smaller. Now I can actually click on the font size, and I can say I want heading 3 to be 2.8 EM. And when I replace the 1 with a 2, you see heading 3 jumps. And we also see the title of the module up here is jumping, so it's heading 3. We can always do something ridiculous and put 6.8 there, and then that changes big. That's just a way to tell you that you're working in the right place and changing the right things. So now what we're going to do in order to change this and apply it to a specific area on the template is copy this code and paste it into our custom CSS. But first of all, we need to create a name for the custom the custom CSS class. And let's go back into the template layout and do that. We're going to apply this custom CSS class that we make to many different places. And you don't have to type this into the template first before you go and create the next step. So it's one step or another, but they both have to be done. Let's just apply it to the whole section. We'll go up to section, and I'm going to edit. And here we'll see custom class, and we're just going to type a name in there. So let's call this call this area. That's what we call this custom class. I had a name for it when I was testing things, but let's call this custom class Timmy. There we go, Timmy. All right, now that's all we need to do. We'll just save this and save the changes to the template. We'll clear the cache. Now, whenever we create a custom, now the custom class Timmy of CSS rules and whatever the coding will be applied to this section. Of course, we haven't created that anywhere. So next what we want to do is this. We'll create that. Let's go down to custom code. And then we have tracking code before head, before body. Here's custom CSS. And now we're going to paste the CSS in there that we want to assign to the custom class Timmy. We go back to the home page to where we had selected heading 3. And I'm going to, down here in the right here, I'm going to select everything there. Now notice I changed the font size only. Anyways, I select all of that code and I'm going to copy it. And then we go back to custom CSS where we paste it. Now remember, whatever template system you're using, there will be a different way for you to do this. All right, and a different method. unless your template system allows you to paste it inside the actual interface here. Now, next, what we want to do up here is type in dot timmy. Now, I hope that I didn't capitalize that. And I don't think that we need the heading 3 here. You know, as it is on my live stream, there's going to be the red heading 3. We do need .h3 there, but we will see. We'll sort this out on a live stream here. Font family, we didn't change that, so I'm just going to take that line out. We did change font size. Everything else we left the same. So basically what we're saying is that in the CSS class named Timmy, we just want the font size for heading 3 to be 6.8. All right, now if I've done this correctly, I'll save this, clear the cache, and we go to home here. And if I hit F5, this should stay big. F5 refreshing the page. And it did not. All right, so let's see, we might actually need the H3 there. Now, as I look at this code down here, see the H3 is black, so that's actually what is being affected. So a little mistake here on that one. Whoops, daisy. Here we go. So I'm going to take out the dot there, and we'll try this again. I have lots of examples at work, and I didn't practice with headings because they're a little bit different sometimes. Some of it, like paragraph and the links that are in there. The other thing too is I should Control Shift and R to refresh this page to make sure. There we go. So my mistake was that I had the .h3 and actually we wanted H3. Now we could actually do what we had in this code, because obviously there's probably other places where .h3 is used. I think we would then go comma and then .h3. And so basically what we're saying is we have you only put a dot in front of classes. Right. H3 is not a class. Thank you for explaining that, Vinny. That's correct. I was thrown off by seeing the .h3 down here. But as Vinny says, and I could also do h3.timmy. Very interesting. Which would make that a module, a class suffix, which would be on the end of that. So, okay, a good point there. I'm going to stick with this little method here, though, just because that's what I've practiced. So timmy.h3, font size 6.8. All right. So, yes, I don't know why it has down here .h3. That might be applied somewhere else in the template. Maybe it's a named one. So you probably want to experiment in your situation. I think for me, I would put the comma .h3 just because it shows up down here, but we'll leave it at that. Now, so what have we got here that we're looking at? We have the custom module that is showing in the top section of this template, and we've assigned the custom CSS class named Timmy to that section, and any changes we make to that will cause this to will affect only where we've applied that custom class. So let's continue to look at more examples, and we will see. So let's see, this says this is heading 1. Why don't we do this? I'm going to go up and select where it says heading 1, and here is the CSS information for it. Let's change the color of this. Now, a really cool handy tool on, I wonder if I can blow this up a little. No, I can't get it out of the corner, so you just have to follow along. Vinny loves CSS, he says in chat. Yeah, the more you figure it out, the better, the more enjoyable it is. So heading 1, I'm going to go down here and click to the right of this closing bracket, which gives me a new line. And now I can do this. I can begin to type. I'll type font, and then I get a whole bunch of options that I can put in there for other CSS tags. Look down here, font weight, all kinds of things. So let's go font style, a font variant. And then we can hit tab. And then look at that, we have all of our options. Now let's say a font variant of petite caps. Petite caps. Yes, Mary says CSS is. Oh, that's great. Mary's got an excellent pun typed in there in chat. There, CSS is exclamation mark important. That's a code you use in CSS. Let's select petite caps, and we'll see right away heading 1 changed. This is heading 1, but now it's petite caps, which means you're getting all caps, but only the first one here is capital. Cool. Now let's also add another line, and let's type color, C-O-L, and let's be American, O-R, and then we hit enter, and then we get choices. Let's just pick a color. We could go with dark gold, cornflower blue, and we see this changes to cornflower blue. Now we can hit enter, and that gets entered in. And now look, now we have a color box. Now if cornflower blue wasn't the blue that you wanted, you can always click on that box, and you can go and you can select which blue it was that you wanted. And if you want, you can use a hex, or you can use these side arrows and select our RGBA and all kinds of things. And you can also change the transparency of that. There, see how we make it fade in and out? You pick the color that you want, and then that's great. We'll hit enter. Now, again, we have this code. So watch, let's copy that code. Now we'll go back to our template and to the custom code, and we will repeat what we just did. Now, if you think you're getting the drift of this, that's cool. I'm going to do some crazy stuff next to really show how custom CSS classes can be used. Let's go Control V, paste that code in there, and we'll do the same thing. At the beginning, we'll go Timmy dot Timmy. Vinny says if you want to use transparency, you have to use RGBA and not hex. I thought so too, but here, why don't we try this? Let's go back here, and because I noticed that with hex selected, if it's no transparency, you get 6 characters after the hash. If you start to add transparency and it starts to add other coding at the end. So I'm going to look. Let's just fade this super fade and see if it works. All right, so we can just barely see it there, and we'll go enter, and I'm going to double click that hash code there, copy, and we'll go back here and we'll put that in there. Now, if this doesn't work, you're right, and if it does, then there you go. Chuck says click the up-down arrow. What does that refer to, Chuck? Next, now we have Timmy up here. Let's clean up this, get rid of this space just so it looks nice. I'm going to leave the .h1 in because it probably works with this template somewhere. We didn't change these first 3 lines. Oh, the up-down arrow, yes, and it changes the format of the RGBA, yes. Right. There we go. That's my phone telling me there's a satellite that's going to fly over. Let's save this, clear, go back to home, and we'll see if this stays faded. Control-Shift-R to refresh. And it did. So, it's not hex if it has more than 6 characters. Okay. But still, this that goofy code there, so that doing it that way, it did remain faded. And we can always go back here and adjust it. Now, will that work on every browser? I don't know. And the discussion that's happening in chat right now is to use RGBA for doing transparency. So why don't we just do that? As Chuck said, just use the up arrow here. And here you have, there you go, 1962, 138, and then the A is how much transparency there is. So just to be safe, in case using hex and then a couple of codes, digits on the end there isn't work, we can do that, which changes your color line to this. And now when we go back here, we would change the color line to RGBA. RGBA, you can easily change the transparency by typing from 0 to 1, Vinny says. Yes. All right. So now, so just get back to theme here. We have this custom CSS class named Timmy that we're naming Timmy. It's .timmy. And here we are changing other things here. And now remember, we applied this custom CSS class to the section entirely. All right, so now let's get a little fancy here. If we go back to the layout, we see here section 1, when we looked at that, we applied a custom CSS class, or said we were going to, one called Timmy. All right, so let's say, so we'll close this. Now in this section, we have a column, a whole column of information here. We can actually go in here and we can add a custom class. Let's call it Timmy column. Timmy column. All right. We save that. Now watch what we can do. We can go back to home. We can, let's select the heading 5 for our next victim. We can go heading 5, select it, and here's our code down here. If we turn off that font, it actually doesn't change, so we won't play around with that. But let's change the font size just to make it to 2. Whoops. I have to actually click in there. All right, change it to 2. And let's do color again. Color. Oh, Canadian color. And let's just go with the color this time. We'll go Blanche Diamond. Oh, that's too faded. Let's select that out. Let's try a different one. Blue violet. Yeah, okay. Purple. All right, so now we'll take the heading 5 and we'll go copy. We'll go back to where we put our custom code. And now down here, we will go to, we'll paste that code. Up here, we're going to go dot TIMMYCOLUMN. And we didn't change the font. We did change the size. I mean, you can leave all this stuff in, but you just don't want to be loading more lines. So I always just put in only what I've changed. Font weight we didn't change, but we did change the color. Now notice the expected behavior here is when we refresh the page, is that this is heading 5 will stay that purple. But this purple line is not purple because we assigned it, we changed the custom class. Let's go back to the layout. Because we changed the custom class of the section, we actually changed the custom class of the column, of this particular column. So for instance, let's add a new, just let me check. If I add a new row that goes right across, we end up with a different sort of column here. Now watch this. I'm going to, in this new row, add a module position, and we're going to give it position 1. Now this is counterintuitive to how you use Joomla templates in this case, because you would never create, I can't think of really any sane reason in this instance where you would create a module position which is the same position as one that's right above it. So up, for instance, up here, this is module position 1. You typically would make this module position 2 or something else. But I made that module position 1 to show you something. Let's also change this. No, that's not what I want to do. Oh, I know. I want to change this module position name here. And let's just call this B. All right. When I save this and clear the cache, what I'm expecting will happen is that the module will appear again in there, because we now have two position 1 module positions. Let's just refresh. We'll see. As we refresh, oh, Okay, so I thought that this would be different down here, but I think because we've assigned this to the column, this must continue to be the column inside this section. All right, so I think what I want to show then is this then. In this row, I'm going to split. Chuck's asking, could you change an entire H class from PX to EMs in for all H tags in custom CSS or other place in template? A best practice, anyone? Okay, that's a good question there, Chuck, and we'll get to it if someone doesn't answer it in chat. I'm going to divide this this middle row here. This is a little bit off the rails here. And so now this top row here, I'm just going to delete this because I think that is confusing, leaving it there for now. In fact, we can just I'd like to delete that row. I can't get my mouse over to it. Here we have module position here in this row, and we have already assigned the CSS to, oh, I lost my column CSS here. That's interesting. I'm gonna change this here. Vinny's answer is yes. Let's go back here. All right, so I have this edit column. I'm going to delete, well, you really have to jump down there. I'm going to remove that row that we had there. Let's just skip back to this. We assigned the custom CSS to this column, and what we were demonstrating was, I need to save this. We'll get back on track here, don't worry. What I was demonstrating was that this purple heading 5 is changed because we added a custom CSS class to the column. Let's go back into that column and let's remove that custom CSS class and save that. So now column has nothing special in it. We would go back to the page and refresh, and now heading 5 is back to normal. But we can do this. We can go to this particular element, this module position, edit the element, and we can apply the custom class there, Timmy column, and go save. We save that, we clear the cache, we refresh, and this will go purple again. But it's going purple because we applied the custom class Timmy column to the module position. And here is really, here I will try to show this again, what I was trying to do by doing the row. Let's add a section this time. All right, so now we have a complete different section. We have section 1 up here. We can edit this section name and call it section 2. All right. Inside this section, I'm going to assign a module position. And just as I tried to with the column, I'm going to do it with position 1. All right, and then this one we will also name A, we'll name B. All right. Okay, so we save that, we clear that. Now, what I expect to happen here is that when we refresh the page here, section 1 is going to continue to appear like this, but section 2, because it has no custom CSS class assigned to it, will be just like the plain module. So let's do that. And Vinny makes a good reminder in chat here that CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So as you have your styles, they cascade, and the one that affects things, it's the one at the bottom that has the greatest, has the effect on an element. So if at the top heading 1 is set to be black in the body, and then somewhere down below heading 1 is changed to a different color, it's the one that's at the bottom of the cascade of style sheets that wins. So you see what we have here that has shown up now is we have section 1, which has the custom CSS class assigned to it, appearing as it is. But now section 2 has nothing changed on it because it does not have a custom CSS class assigned to it. In fact, and I hope I'm keeping this straight because I really want to make this easy for everyone, and this is sort of how it makes sense in my head. Let's look at this. Let's go back to the layout and assign section 2. We'll edit that, and the CSS, the custom class, we'll call this Timmy column, the same one, Timmy column. All right. When we save that, what we can expect to happen is that section 1 will have the custom class Timmy, which has it assigned to it. All of this is going to change. The module position, which has Timmy column assigned to it in section 1, will be purple, but we just assigned the module, the CSS class Timmy column to the whole of section 2. So we can expect that this heading 5 down here will turn purple. Let's give that a try. And it does. So this is really, now remember, all we've done here, all we are doing here is displaying a custom module. We haven't done anything CSS here. All we've done is assign it through the editor. You know, I typed this as heading 1, and then I assigned it to heading 1 using the drop down here. This is heading 2. We're not doing anything with the module. It is just there. We're changing the output of it by assigning these custom CSS classes to different positions. But now, let me blow your mind, or at least demonstrate something else here. Let's go back to the template. I'm going to go to custom CSS to the code here because heading 1 being so big is really throwing us off. I'm going to change, or heading 3, I'm going to change it back down to, let's just do it 0. All right. And we will save that. Let's go into our layout now. Let's add a third section. So, and we'll go right across. Now our template has 3 sections, and we'll just name this number 3, section 3. And as we did before, we're going to add a module position, and we'll name it position 1. You can never have enough position 1s. And let's also change that so that it reads as C. Now, we can then, we can save this here. Yes, we can now save this here. And now we're going to go to, we'll save that. And now we're going to go back to our module and we'll go to advanced. And here we can type in a module class suffix. So check this out. Let's make another one, Timmy, and we'll call it Timmy module. I used to hate being called Timmy. In fact, well, there's a story to tell you about that too, but I will not digress. We'll do module class suffix Timmy module, and we will go save. Now we're applying a custom module class to the module itself, which means that anywhere the module appears in any section, it's going to take on, it's going to be displayed how we have this custom CSS class that we assign to it and build for it. So you might have a template and you do none of what we've done leading up to this, but you only want one. You want that module always to look the same anywhere that it is displayed. So again, you've drilled right down to the actual module itself. So you'd have the module, it has a position, it has a section or a row, maybe a row because you can assign a custom CSS class to a row, but you have all these layers. At the bottom, if it's just the module that you want to be the same everywhere, then you can do that. Now, and why would you want a module to appear the same anywhere? Because perhaps you're using multiple templates on your site. one area is green, one area is red, one area is blue, but you have a thermometer that and some information that you always want to be black and formatted the exact same way everywhere. You would assign it to the module so that regardless of what's happening on all of the other templates in sections or rows or module positions in those templates, you're going to get the same look. If you want things to be changed in a certain area of your template, then you would assign it to section or row or module position or wherever you're drilling down, so that so let's say that in the second section of your template, you always want that to be orange. Orange font, you would change paragraph so that the font is always orange in that section. And as long as you haven't put something custom in for the module, that will be obeyed in that section. All right, so we've got some discussion happening here. Vinny says, remember, let's see, there's some talk in there about changing from, if you change font size to rem, that is better for mobile responsiveness. So we've seen that we've been changing one with rem there. That changes it will handle it as a percentage instead of just sticking with the font height. Vinny says the custom CSS loads last after the template CSS. So whatever you put in custom CSS will override the template CSS. And he's explaining cascading style sheets. He said, Vinny also points out it also matters where you put your code within your style sheet. Chuck suggested most important at the top, and Vinny said no. Whatever's at the top can be changed by the code below. And then he gets Vinny's talking about his favorite CSS code is @media, which has to do with responsiveness. And I think I'm going to get Vinny on to do a Watch Me Work live stream on all the responsiveness that he's talking about. So back to this. We have put, we've created Timmy module and assigned it to this module here. Now we need to go into here, custom code, and we will go down and we will make dot Timmy module dot Timmy module. And now let's put a variation on heading 5 again here. We'll select heading 5, control copy, and we go control V. Now we've sort of got a snake swallowing a snake here by doing this, but I'm going to make the font size for heading 5. Let's make it super ridiculous big, and we will save this. Now, so just to recap, we are now assigning a custom CSS class to a module. That's the very bottom. So as sections and rows and module positions are loaded, they'll all look at their different classes, what should be. But further down, then they're going to look at what the module, the classes the module is assigned to, and that one is going to win. All right, so that's, I think I saved this and cleared this, and we hit refresh. And heading 5 changes in all 3 places. All right, heading 5, this is the one where we assigned it to the whole section right across. This is the one where we assigned it to the module position, and this is where we assigned it to the module. And so again, remember, cascading style sheets, whatever comes last is loaded last is what wins. And if you were to have, even if I were to make a mistake here and duplicate this here, this code, so Timmy module heading 5, now watch this, instead of font size, I'm going to make it 0.4. Now we have dot Timmy module heading 5 here, but right after we've duplicated it, but it's different. In fact, I could, so we'll just go, in fact, let's change it to black. We will go save, clear the cache. Vinny points out not just font, but margin and padding by using rem as well. We refresh. Now, heading 5, I actually went very small. That's actually a pretty big size there for what I expected. That's 0.4. Seems kind of odd. Let's try just to make sure we're not missing something. Oh, I've got 2.4. Oh, I forgot to take out the 2 when I went 0. That's why. We'll clear the cache. We'll refresh. And there you go. Oh, look at that. It's super small. And that's what happens there now. But watch this. Let's go back to our layout. And let's go to section 1. Let's change it so that it splits. All right. There goes 6 and 6. All right. Now, we have a new column here on this row. Now this is where, okay, so if this column we could give a different CSS class in this column here than what we have over on this column. But what we're going to do here is put in a module position, but instead of module 1 position 1, let's just go with position 2. All right. And we're just going to call this, I think element is D. We're up to D. All right. Now, one more thing. We'll go back here to this module. And I'm going to make a copy of it. This is another module on this site. All right. And we're not going to assign any CSS module class suffix or custom CSS class to it. It says suffix here because, as Vinny pointed out, you can put the tag h3 dot Timmy module or Timmy column, so it ends up being a suffix. But as you saw, you can just assign a class to it as well. But we have nothing there, and we're going to save this as a copy, and we'll publish this. Oh, and we have to put this in position 2. All right, yes. All right, so we'll save this as a copy. Now we'll save this now. So what do we expect to see here? We expect to see to the right of this module here, we will see all of that, well, that second module we just created, but it's going to be handled by the CSS module class we assign to the whole section. It's going to be pretty ugly. Vinny says the module suffix is something different. Okay. Well, the thing that throws me off there, Vinny, then I thought it was suffix because it's not prefix. If you add dash suffix class in that box. Okay, we'll have to look at that another time, or maybe in a little bit. Let's refresh the page here. Boy, this is another module. This is heading 1. That did not change. And I wonder why. Let's see here. Why did that not change? What do we have? Oh, that's because up here we took that out. No, we have Timmy class for the section. Did we edit the row class? No. Do we have a class in the column? No. Just take a look at a few things here. No. Did I not put... Oh, I didn't put the custom... I didn't put the custom class in there, but I really thought that the custom class would be taken from the section here. Timmy. Which is very peculiar, isn't it? It's almost like this CSS in here in the other module. Okay, so this is where we start to lose people and get clicking around looking at things. Position 1. Advanced. Let's take out Timmy module. Control X and save that. Did I not? Maybe I needed to clear the cache here. Control Shift and R. No, look at that. This is still somehow getting... Oh, this is very different here now. I took out the module class that was affecting this. Uh-oh. Is that what I did? Timmy module. Oh. What do you need a space before the module CSS? I'm not sure what you're saying there, Chuck. Suffix. This is the only module. We have nothing in there. We save and close. It's so small you can't see it. Timmy module. What did I do here? I've got Timmy module here. See, what I'm trying to do here is just to recap here. Control plus, well, okay, we go. In this section here, we have custom class Timmy, which was working just fine. So that should control the CSS for this whole section here. In here, we have no class assigned to it. So what I was thinking would happen was the module here would be affected by that first one that we did, which is Timmy. We go to custom code, and this is the heading 5 that we took out there. That's fine. But the CSS Timmy, whoops, up here made heading 3 tiny and heading 1 with petite caps. And then, so that's what I expect should be happening to oh yeah, it is happening. It is happening. I'm confused because these are both the same and the purple threw me off. Yeah, it's not the .h1. I'm just thrown off here, and I need a more clear example. So for instance, look, this is the purple. This purple is being assigned in this A position, this module position. But there's nothing being assigned there, and so the two changes that happen up here are in the section. The custom mod CSS class that we assigned to the section are actually there. What threw me off was this. Remember we made heading 3 super big? If I go to the custom code here, go to Timmy and heading 3, we can make that 7. In fact, let's make it 17 to just be totally ridiculous. Clear here. Now when we refresh, okay, that was maybe too big. Get a grip on it, Tim. Get a grip on it. We'll go. We'll make that 4, and I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to add some color to that as well. We'll make it blue. This is a good way to show it. 4, and make that orange, and we'll go save. Chuck says 1.8, so conservative. We refresh. Okay, so we changed heading 1 to be heading 3. What on earth did I do? Heading 3 is now orange, Yeah, heading 3 is orange. Oh, I know what's happening here. The title is actually set to heading 3 as well. So heading 3 is orange. Heading 3 is orange here. This is orange, and this is orange because the section has the custom module class of Timmy assigned to it. Heading 5 is purple because the custom class Timmy column is assigned to the module position, and it changes the color purple. So what I was trying to demonstrate, it all makes sense inside of my head, but is this. Is that when you do your layout, you can have, if you assign a module class, a custom CSS class to a module, that wins over everything. But where it's not applied, as when we created a different article which had the same content in it, where it's not applied, then the higher up one takes control. Clear as mud, I think, probably at this point. Let me turn this camera back on here and switch over to chat on the right. All right, everybody. So, look at that, 6 people watching. Poor souls. Thanks for making it to this point. In summary, and I'll open up the Zoom here if anyone wants to call, and we'll keep chatting. To change a section or a part of your template, be it a section or a row or a module position, or to change the appearance of a module, just create a custom CSS class, as we've seen, apply it, and you will be on your way to having things look the way that you want on your template. Remembering that whatever gets loaded last or is lowest down is what will win. So if you make changes to a module position, so that, as we saw, that say heading 5 is going to be purple, or whichever heading we did, heading 5. Heading 3 is going to be orange. If you assign that to the module position, but then to the module you assign a different class where the heading 3 is going to be green, green will win out. It will win out everywhere. But if you want heading 3 to be green in a different module that's in its own area, you can apply its own module suffix class there. So, anyways, it makes sense in my head, and I think it makes sense here on the screen as we get going. And I think the .h1 there, Vinny, that we're seeing is that .h1 probably exists somewhere else in this particular asteroid template that's being used as a tag somewhere, because you don't, like you said, you don't need a dot before h1, but I'm not sure why it's being used there. Hey, listen, why don't I just get the Zoom call going here in case anyone wants to voice in on this. We'll click on start there. I will go into there. I'll join with my audio. I'll make sure that is up. I'll paste the link here. And Control V. Chuck says, why typically do you see @media at the bottom of CSS files? I think that is because, let's see. I think @media, and Vinny will probably type the answer there, is referring to how wide the device is that the page is viewing it, if I remember right. Let's get back to the chat here and see what's happening here. Oh, there's the call there. That's not what I want. Hello. The doorbell has rung. Hello, this is probably...
Hello, Tim.
It's Vin. Is it Vinny?
It is? Well, who else would it be?
Well, Chuck comes on. Yeah. Well, that started out like that was like a good race through the woods, and then eventually we hit a few trees. But
That's how you ski, isn't it?
well, no, I'm not even going to say what I was going to say that, because it would be cruel and insensitive to people who lost a loved one. So, anyways, yeah. Well, I guess it could be a little bit. It's just too bad I confused myself there in the end because I got a little bit out of order how I was going to do things. But
Well, and that's the thing with CSS. It's so easy to make a mistake, and something not change, or something change unexpectedly, or you're trying to change one thing but you didn't put the right amount of classes because some things are partnered with other classes to change that one segment. And it's not just always simple as just saying, I want to change the H3 tag for this module. Sometimes in order to change what you want, you have to change that tag that's under two other tags or
Yeah.
two other classes.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that was exciting for me to finally figure this out is because, and maybe I probably wanted to tell people about this too, but let me go through and get rid of this dog's breakfast of changes that I've made here. At least the super big fonts. Let's do this as 1.8 as Chuck suggested earlier. And we'll get rid of this font size of 12. We'll just make that 3. It's going to be all goofy. The title's showing up as, the module title showing up as heading 3 threw me off too. But let's go here.
Now, here's the other thing to remember about REM. Is that it is not finite, meaning that just because it's 1.8 on this site does not mean 1.8 is going to be the same size in another site, because it's based off your base font. So if you set your base font at 14 pixels, it's going to do 1.8 of one being 14 pixels. That 1.8 could be different on your site, and if my base font is 16 pixels, that 1.8 is going to be larger.
Yeah. So, but you'll be working on your own site, customizing things too, so it should all kind of work along. But yes, and Chuck agrees there. He says Chuck says he'd chat, but he's short a headset. I think that's what he typed there. He's got I would but haste short in headset, but he's either short a headset or it's fallen on him and he's not able to talk right now. And what he says, finding some of those are a pain for sure, and that's right, Chuck. Hava, there you go. I would but oh, you have a short in your headset. Oh, okay. Okay, the wiring is shorted out.
Well, then just splice it back together.
Yeah, and when we get into things here, for instance, now I have this section. This section goes across here. And then here we have section 2 and we have section 3. If I bring up the element inspector, because I just showed how to change colors in that, but here's the section. I select the whole section. I can go, I want to put some padding in on this section. So if I go padding, and let's go 20 pixels all around. In fact, let's go 200. Is that what I want? Yes. If I go 200, I put padding between that.
So why use pixels? Why don't you use REMs?
Well, just because that's what my fingers type. But we go REM.
Don't put 200 though.
No, well, look at it. Got a little skinny there. All right. So let's go to 1. There we go, and it's nice. It's showing green. In fact, that's the section. Let's go background, and let's make it red. Hey, wow. That's not what I wanted. All right. I think what I can do is this. If I go to here, okay, copy that section code, and let's go up here, and section, I think it's just going to be .timmy that we put in there, right? I don't think section stays. Let's check and see. Yeah, there you go. Timmy, display, padding, 1 REM. So that worked nicely. So if I go 1, I get a bigger space around everything. Okay, and of course with padding, I could just go with just the bottom of that. Which is great, because now if I want to really show where that padding is, I can go to here, and if I want to go background color for this top, is it this wrapper? No, is it that container? It might be that. And that Chuck was mentioning about saying at media. That's where we have the code here, at media, minimum width 1200, 992. So this is your different maximum widths in this case based on how wide the device is that's being viewed.
Right,
John. John, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and the reason why it's on the bottom is because you set all your CSS classes at the top, and then you adjust it for the smaller sizes.
Yeah.
Pretty much you design in a desktop view that's pretty standard for most people. And that's the one thing you have to remember when you're designing a website based on the size of your screen. If you're designing a website in a really large screen, it's not going to appear the same for everybody because most people don't have a really large screen. I had a client who's an architect, and they were designing their site based on their gigantic screens, and I'm like, most people don't have these screens, so they're never going to view your website in this manner. You really have to look at it in smaller screens because most people have at least the 24-inch.
Yeah. All right. So John says to control the root font size, set the font size of the HTML element. Then rem uses the same font size on all devices. He says, P.S. Tim is using EM in his examples. It's similar, but with a difference to REM. Have I been typing EM?
I think it started at EM. I think that's what.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. I didn't know that EM is different. So.
It is, and for the life of me, I don't know what exactly the difference is. I've just been using REM because I like their music.
Yeah. All right. There's a. There, I add a background just to show how when you add padding, you put a bit of space between the sections.
All right, so the difference between REM and EM is while EM is relative to the font size of its direct or nearest parent, REM is only relative to the HTML root font size. So REM is if you set a paragraph as 14 pixels, and then later you're using, it's going to call back to that original font size rather than where EM does it to the nearest parent class. So if you're in a class, EM affects it to its nearest parent.
Okay.
Yeah,
John
just wrote it.
Yeah, and also Valerie just posted a link here, and I reposted the link so it was clickable. Comprehensive guide when to use EM versus REM. Oh yeah, there's padding EM. Both EM and RM are flexible, scalable units. If you use a value of 1 EM or 1 REM, it could translate the browser as anything from 16 pixels to 160. The difference is between EM and REM units is how the browser identifies the pixel value they translate to. So there's a handy dandy, excellent page there to show the difference of the two and the effects. So thanks for posting that, Valerie.
And this is something that my biggest problem with people who say, well, I can create websites. I do it in Wix or I do it in Square. Is that with the WYSIWYGs, you never learn the CSS. And while you can move things the way you want it, sometimes getting into the CSS, even in a WYSIWYG, helps you really fine tune exactly what you want. Plus, you learn good code styles and have less classes doing the same things or doing them better than if you do it in a WYSIWYG where it just continually makes classes, and you might have repeat classes.
Yeah, if you look at the code of a Wix page, I was evaluate someone's page for them, and their code was like their one page was a megabyte in size, and it was something like 800K of that was just CSS, because every time there was a heading or anything, it pasted. It was just unbelievable how much slower that page would load because of that. So I'm way out of focus now.
No, not to me.
Oh, okay, it might. Valerie, it might be the stream. Click on if you mouse over on the stream, make sure you're watching the 1080p or high def in your YouTube viewer.
If your connection slows down a bit, it might automatically adjust it to a lower setting. Yeah. And so Tim looks like he's from the 80s.
Well, I probably do look like I'm from the 80s, but
I just meant remember watching video from the 80s.
So, okay. Ivor says I'm okay there. So yeah, Valerie, I think you're probably just falling behind on the stream a little bit or something. So like Chuck says there in chat, just click on the gear and select the higher thing. Yeah. So, hey everybody, yeah, that was it. Great. That reminded me, Vinny, when you were talking about CSS and Wix and stuff like that. Let me just tell you guys, we released a second version of the podcast yesterday that Chayton and I are doing called Joomcast. And we were talking to Carlos Camara. He has a podcast in Spanish. But anyway, so if you want to go, there's an interesting part of the discussion there where about whether WordPress is more vulnerable to Wix and Squarespace and Weebly's than Joomla is, just along the discussion of because what you said, Vinny, you never learn using the WYSIWYG, you never learn CSS. But if you don't want to learn CSS, then you're a user that's going to gravitate more towards things like that. And I think that, anyways, you'll hear in discussion, but I just think that a lot of people that are using WordPress are doing so because they were told it was easy and were recommended by someone. I'll just go on WordPress, do this, and they've learned it. And then, but they have no interest in learning some of the stuff that like we're looking at today, especially if they tune in only for the latter part of that demonstration. But here we've got a system. So WordPress has a lot more users that aren't interested in learning some of the finer things than Joomla does, I think. Might be the same percentage, but...
And the thing is that HTML and CSS are the base of all websites. I mean, it really is. We don't do Flash websites anymore.
Yeah.
So having a basic knowledge of CSS is very important, I think, for anybody who wants to claim that they develop websites.
Yeah. Valerie says that she liked the discussion and she's going to re-listen to it. Wow, thank you. Chuck prefers to have more control over content ownership and styling. Yes, and that's the whole thing. Own your site. Download it, be able to move it somewhere else, and and style it.
Now, I do want to say, Tim, that to answer a question that you asked that nobody else had heard is I was aware of the fact that you could leave messages on a Anchor podcast.
I was going to ask you that because so if you're listening to that podcast on the Anchor.fm app, you can tap on message and you can leave us up to 60-second message for the podcast. And I just discovered that, so I went on Vinny's Eye Level Time Radio podcast on Anchor.fm, and I tried that out, and I left a message that said, "Hey, did you know that you can leave a message?" So I was going to ask you if you had gotten that. So
yeah, and you can also, as you pointed out in the message you left me, is that you can easily add those messages to your podcast.
Can you add them anywhere you want?
Yes, you can. You could just drag and drop things out. You could split up your Anchor your podcast,
yes, okay,
and then put different elements in.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll look at some other things that we haven't talked about yet in some of these areas. The ID and in modules. In fact, I'm not even. Where are we here? Module class. I did a header class. Header class is something I want to talk about another time. There's a bunch of other things that we can look at in there, but anyways.
And at some point, we should take a look at media, because media covers more than just screen size. It covers a whole list of stuff.
Well, that's like what you're going to appear in a future Watch Me Work Wednesday and talk about media, aren't you?
Sure, why not? We'll all talk about it. I mean, and it's something I'm just learning myself.
Yeah.
I'm playing around a lot more with, but you really can have more control over because I had to use it in a recent site where things were not appearing quite right in the tablet version and in the cell phone version or the mobile version. So I really had to play around with the app media to keep that consistency.
Yeah. Good. Well, that will be another good one to fill in, because mobile responsiveness is so key.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably comes into play with. Does that come into play with tables? Probably, eh?
What do you mean tables?
Like if you're displaying a table on a website, you want it to be mobile friendly, yeah. So, because a lot of times if you don't have that stuff, you just break your mobile friendliness. So
yeah, well, I remember once upon a time we used to design websites with tables.
Well, that's all I did. That's before I found Mambo. Although I was also doing it with Microsoft Front Page. Chuck says, Valerie says legit testimonials. Yes, for people calling in or leaving comment. And it's amazing Chuck says it's amazing how much information we all need to know about the web, its inner working, software, coding knowledge. Yeah. Yeah, it is not something that is not the Wild West anymore. As far as throw a web page on there and you're way ahead of the game. There's so much to keep up on. So yeah. Well, I think that's all I've got for today. I actually have a couple things to take care of before my wife and I get away for a couple of days. When I wrap things up at my last job, they gave me a gift certificate for a local resort, so we booked that, and I've got a few things to take care of before I can leave. One, I've got to finish. We just had our lawn backyard seeded, and I have to set up the sprinklers on the timer so the thing keeps growing while we're away. But anyways, John Moholt, CSS Grid is the new layout master tool.
I still haven't played with CSS Grid yet because I do everything right now with UI Kit.
And Ivor says bye. He says tomorrow they celebrate 17th of May, the Norwegian National Day. You're celebrating it tomorrow, but the 17th is the day after, right? I know you guys are ahead, but I didn't realize it was that far ahead. Chuck says, thanks Tim and Vinny, great stream today. Thanks for all the commenting. Yeah, thank you everybody for all those comments and stuff that you put in there, keeping me on track and also creating a distraction amongst yourselves while I got lost there. So that's good. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks again for your support of the channel. And we'll see what happens next week. Part of my time away, I'm going to just actually sit down and it's interesting. Now that I'm going to be away from internet, because I'm not going to have an internet connection where we're going, I'm going to have time to work on my webpage, planning it out and stuff. So, and sleeping that. Anyway, so everybody, thanks for your support of the channel, as I said. And there's another comment there. Valerie says, thanks for this and good luck to me and Chayton, perhaps landing the Garrett interview. Yeah, we'll see. Actually, we do have our next guest that we're just lining up and working on the dates. So it's going to be, I think it's going to, unless we end up interviewing someone before, but Allison Meeks, who's heading up social media for Joomla and sort of moderates the Facebook group and other things. She's going to be our next interview. As far as I know. And she is she's a fellow Canadian, so she's 3 time zones away. She's in Vinny's time zone. So anyway, so I'm going to sign off now. Everybody, have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. And until I see you next, enjoy your Joomla sites, and God bless.